everybody, and welcome back to Lessons with Mr. McCluskey. Today we are starting our first math lesson. I know, super exciting. So today we are going to be talking about pictographs. I know that Miss Skinner went over a little bit of it with you last classes, which was about 3 weeks ago, if not longer. So we're going to go do a little review, and then we're going to get into some examples, and then I'm going to set you on your way with your jump math book, okay? So, the definition of a pictograph is a graph that organizes information and puts it into pictures. So, imagine that we are walking down Giant's Head Road, and there's all those orchards there, right? And there's a farmer out, and he's working on his orchards, and we stop and say, Mr. Farmer, what are you growing? And he says, oh, I got peaches, apples, and pears. And you say, oh, wow, how many of each one of those do you grow? And he goes, oh, that's a good question, we should count them up. So you count up all the apples, you count up all the peaches, you count up all the pears, and you say, whoa, there's so much information. How am I supposed to show people all this data? And you say, you know what, let's use a pictograph. So let's draw an apple, and that'll show how many apples we have. Let's draw a pear, and that'll show how many pears we have. And then let's draw a peach, and that'll show how many peaches we have. All right? So that is the best way to describe how we are going to use our pictographs. And in a minute here, I'm going to show you an example, and we're going to do it together, of all the flowers that I used to have at my garden back when I lived with my family. So get strapped in your seats and let's get going. Okay, so now we are going to use that example of the fruits, the apple, the pear, and the peach, and we're going to translate that into flowers. So we have a graph here, right? We're looking at Mr. McCluskey's garden. So, when I was young, we used to have a huge garden in my house, and we would grow a bunch of flowers, right? And we'd grow a bunch of vegetables as well. So you may be asking, oh, what kind of flowers did you grow? So we grew roses, tulips, and sunflowers, and there was quite a few of them, right? There was quite a few of them. So if we went around and counted up all the roses, counted up all the sunflowers, counted up all the tulips, it'd be the same thing as the fruit. It'd be so many that we can't really show it on a graph. So instead, what we do, we're going to do pictures, and we're going to use this little flower symbol, all right? But what we're going to do, instead of drawing a bunch of these little flower ones, we're going to make one flower symbol equals 5 actual flowers. So one of these drawings of a flower here actually represents 5 flowers in my garden. So if we're looking at the roses, right here we have 1, 2, 3 roses on the charts. But if each one of these ones equals 5 actual flowers, how many flowers do you think we're actually going to have that are roses? So, let's count. So this one is 5, this one is 10, and this one is 15. So in reality, we have 15 roses. So I'll write that here. So now we're going to tulips. All right? And here, how many flower symbols do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 flower symbols, all right? So knowing that my garden's big, we know that I don't actually have just 4 tulips in my garden. I actually have a lot more than that. So if each one of these flower ones represents 5 actual tulips, how do you think we can get there? Think about it. All right, I think you have a good idea. So we're going to count by 5s. So this is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20, right? Because remember, one flower symbol equals 5 actual flowers. So 5, 10, 15, 20, we actually have 20 tulips. So I'll have 20 tulips in my garden, right? You can see that there. And now let's go down to sunflowers. So sunflowers are big, right? And they're quite tall, they have big, big flowers. So I might have a little less of them. So let's see, how many flower symbols do we have? We have 2. So if each one of these flower symbols equals 5 actual sunflowers, let's see how many I have. So that's 5 and that's 10. So I'll have 10 actual sunflowers in my garden, right? So if you look at it, this little graph right here, it doesn't look like there's too much in there, right? We're really limiting the amount of data that we have. But when we look at the true numbers of the data, if we do a little bit of math here, there's 5. So in reality, I actually have 45 flowers in my garden. That's a lot of flowers. But we represent it in a more simple way so it's easier for us to visualize and understand it too. All right, let's take a look at another example. Feel free, if you need to, rewind this and you can look at it again, pause it at certain moments if you want to talk about it or rewatch certain sections.
So
all right,
we are moving
on
to
to another example here. So we are now going to be speaking about how many grade 4s play sports and which sports they play and how many play each individual sport. So we have our title up here, the grade 4 sports. We have our key or our legend, as some people like to call it, right above. So it says that one of these person symbols or these people symbols is equal to 10 kids. So 10 kids in grade 4 who play sports. So we have basketball, hockey, figure skating, and dance. So remember, each one of these figures here means 10 kids. That's really what I want you to focus on. So there is one person drawing, and that equals 10 kids playing the sport for which it says here on the side of the chart. So if we are looking at basketball, we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have half of one. It's kind of strange, right? So 1, 2, 3, remember each one of these equals 10 kids. So we can count by tens. So 1 is 10, 2 is 20, 3 is 30, and then I have half of one. What's half of 10, right? What's half of 10? I think all of you are probably saying 5 right now, and you are exactly correct. So when you see a half a symbol, that's going to equal half the number from the legend up here. So we said half of 10 is 5. So let's count again. 10, 20, 30, 30 plus 5 equals 35. So let's write down 35 right here. Excellent. So we got 35 written down right there. Now let's move on to hockey. So hockey, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the little people. And remember, each one of the little people equals 10 kids. So just like we did last time with basketball, let's count by 10. 10, 20, 30, 40. So there are 40 grade 4 kids who play hockey. And I think we're talking about Penticton and Summerland. So that's pretty average. All right, now let's move on to figure skating. We have how many here? 1 and 2. So, and remember, each one of these equals 10 kids. So, let's count by tens again. 10, 20. So we have 20 kids who figure skate. And now last, we're looking at dance, right? A little bit of dance. So, how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3. And remember, each one of these equals 10 kids. So we have 10, 20, 30. So, now let's look at how many kids in grade 4 play sports in Penticton and Summerland. So, we know that 35 play basketball. We know that 40 play hockey. We know that 20 do figure skating. And we know that 30 dance. So let's do some math. So that's 5. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. So right here we're showing about 125 kids who play sports, and they're also in grade 4. Now if we had 125 kids, that would be so difficult to show in a graph, right? 125, that's a pretty big number. So that's why we're using these pictographs, because it allows us to see it and allows these big numbers to turn into smaller ones, which help us to understand. So next we're going to be looking at something a little different, just figuring out which symbol and which way to make a pictograph we're going to do, all right? So stay tuned. If you want, again, remember, like I said, rewind this, try this one out a couple times, try it with your parents, and I know you got it. This one looks a little bit different because we're not actually using a graph. So this one, we have to use a little bit more of our imagination and have to look at it in a little different way, but I'll show you how to do that, okay? So, let's read this together. If we had a line of data that looked like this, so we have a line of data, right? So a line of numbers of information, right? We don't know what the information is. We just know that there are numbers and they're going to tell us something. So the numbers are 9, 12, 15, and 30. All right? So they're asking what scale works best to represent the data. So remember when we were talking about the kids playing sports in grade 4, right? Our scale was one kid one symbol of a person equals 10 kids. And remember with the flowers, one flower symbol equals 5 actual flowers. So what they're saying here is which one of these hearts would work best to represent data that has a number of 9, a number of 12, a number of 15, and a number of 30. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be looking at each one of these numbers and seeing if they can go into all these numbers up here, right? So 2. Does 2 go into 9? Let's think. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, we skipped 9, right? So I don't know if 2 is going to work. It does go into 12, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That works. But if we kept going 14, 16, it also skips 15. So I don't think 2 is going to be the best option. Let's go to number 3. So now does 3 go into 9? 3, 6, 9. Yup. 3 goes into 9. Does it go into 12? 3, 6, 9, 12. Yes, it does. Does it go into 15? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Oh, it does. Does it go into 30? Whew, let's see. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Oh, it does. All right, so far 3 works for each one of these. But let's not circle it right now and get too excited. We also have to check to see if 4 goes into them all. So let's see. Does 4 go into 9? 4, 8, oof, it doesn't. It doesn't go into 9. It does go into 12, but it doesn't go into anything else. So I think we found our one. So the best scale to use for this data would be 1 heart equals 3. Because 3 goes into 9, 3 goes into 12, 3 goes into 15, and 3 goes into 30. All right? So this one might be a little confusing, so make sure to ask your parents to help you and rewatch this video a couple times. And I'm always there on email or phone call every day of the week from 8:30 to 2, okay? So you should also have your jump math books that you guys picked up at the school last week. So we are going to be working on, starting off on page 3. I know many of you might have already done this back a long time ago. You probably want to just go over and review it, and if you haven't finished it, finish this one before you move on. For those who are finished this week, you can work on pages 4, 5, and if you want, you can go to 6. Please do not go anywhere past 6, starting on bar graphs, because that's going to be next week's lesson, okay? And like I said, me right now, I am here to help. I love helping. You asking me questions actually makes me happy. So do me a favor, make me happy by asking questions if you don't understand it, all right? Excellent. Like I said before, I really miss all of you, and I really hope you're enjoying time with your family and staying happy and staying healthy at home, all right? Awesome. Have a good one, everybody.